Good morning, everyone. Welcome to a new market update in which we can see that Bitcoin is actually bouncing back up from a very crucial support zone, higher time frame level, which we have been discussing in the previous weeks. We've also seen altcoins dropping down heavily, through which we assume that we're getting into territories where you want to start buying your crypto or where you want to start buying your altcoins, which haven't been running yet. Some have been accelerating quite fast, meaning that is not really an entry point right now. But in the past weekend, we've seen a sell off happening on altcoins, and that is actually a beautiful trigger to start looking for entry points. Before we're going to continue, do not forget to check out our Twitter and Instagram, where I'm providing daily market updates on crypto. We are also announcing something very cool for December on December 1st on Twitter and Instagram. Also, do not forget that our Black Friday deal is still active today, the last day, Cyber Monday. We'll be having 30% recurring discount for all new members for the newsletter and the group, which you can find in the description beneath. And finally, do not forget to subscribe to this YouTube channel and like beneath if you enjoy the content. So, when we're discussing the markets, and what I've been seeing during the past weekend is the fact that altcoins were selling off heavily. And what is the reason why altcoins are dropping so fast at this point? That is just because of fear. People were assuming that the markets were going to accelerate in November and December, resulting into a giant run upwards and resulting into a parabolic run or advancement that we've just seen in December 2017, in which Bitcoin peaks out in a parabolic or vertical run, and after that we get an alt season. However, as I remained critical on that topic, I was assuming that if Plan B would not be hitting that level, we would most likely get some additional sell pressure taking place on the markets, through which we are more likely to get a correction, especially since the breakout above all-time high was quite weak. And then we get a sell-off, get towards somewhere in the 50k range, and then we bottom out and continue the run from there, in which we get a lengthening cycle. Additionally, with that, we've also seen that the Fear and Greed Index, which is an index created on a website that you can just visit, it's established from price action but also sentiment, was hitting pretty low levels. And then you get into the territory that people are starting to assume that the markets are going to drop more. So what are they doing? They are selling off their altcoins because they assume that the markets are going to drop even more. And that is usually a key trigger to watch, especially if you see comments or saltiness on Twitter, where people are starting to fight with each other or start to blame people for the fact that the markets are correcting. That is usually a sign of going hand in hand with the Fear and Greed Index, and that is also why the altcoins have been dropping, because people just simply do not want to have those positions anymore, as they are assuming that the markets are dropping. Then also on Friday we've had a very harsh correction on the equity markets, and the discussion started with the fact that the Omicron variant of the coronavirus is taking the markets down. Actually, in the past weeks we've already seen lockdowns taking place for the coronavirus once again, and the markets or the equity markets have not been reacting to it at all. And now we have been seeing that the markets have been dropping down. That is not because of the Omicron variant. It's because of the fact that we're going into a lockdown again, and that the equity markets have not been seeing any correction at all. So crypto is not dropping because of that. Crypto was dropping initially because of the strength of the dollar. And then we can see that crypto was sold off once again, probably through the fact that institutional investors wanted to de-risk their entire portfolio as equity markets were dropping, and that is something that we will be seeing some more. Right now on Sunday, beautiful bounce back up in which the markets are looking at the green numbers again. Are we bottomed out? Are we done with the correction? What levels are we watching? That's what I'll be discussing next in the technical analysis corner. So when we're looking at the price action of Bitcoin, we've actually hit a higher time frame support. We've consolidated here for a little while and started to bounce back up. Are we done with the correction at this point? The chances are getting quite likely, but as we discussed previously in the other update, the fact is that if you're looking for swing trade opportunities, then these ranges are actually where you want to start accumulating. Especially given the fact that Bitcoin has been seeing this 23% correction. That is usually not the sign or the level that you want to start looking for short opportunities. You are actually looking into long opportunities, given the fact that the market has been seeing such a harsh correction taking place. So in that regard, this bounce back up is beautiful. Is it actually a trigger that we are bullish all the way again? We might be getting into a phase where we are bullish all over again, or we are getting a short-term bounce taking place in which 60k is still the critical rejection zone, the critical trigger. So in order to actually be bullish about the markets, I'd preferably want to see 60k breaking here. And if that doesn't break, we might even still have that correction taking place all the way towards 50k. I'll look at the lower time frames for a little bit, because those are giving me more signals about the markets. So what we established here is the fact that we have been creating this range for almost a week. We've been making lower highs, lower lows, broke south. We broke beneath this support zone. We started to move sideways for a little while here. We've swept the low yesterday, and as I said on Twitter, the moment that happened, we most likely are going to test the other side of this range and potentially even test 56k. Well, we've actually been making that breakout upwards while we are still seeing conflicting theories or conflicting arguments here. We are still seeing lower highs, lower lows, in which the actual trigger for continuation would be the fact that 56k is going to flip for support here. If 56k holds for support, we are back in this range, and we are most likely going to test 60k or the other side of this range, in which we take out all the stops above those triggers that we see here, as most likely many shorts have their stops above those levels, through which I'm quite sure that if we flip 56k, we're going to see a test there. Also, if we do get a test around that region, we might be getting into a phase where we have been bottomed out, or where we are going to confirm that somewhere in this region we're getting a retest at some point and we're done with the entire correction. So what should you be looking at? Well, it's quite simple. 56k has to be holding here, and if 56k holds, we are most likely going to see a continuation taking place towards 60, and then we are back in this range. And we're going to face a resistance on the critical level around 60k for a potential test of resistance there once again. Looking at the total market cap, we can see that we have had a beautiful retest taking place of the previous high. I was still assuming that we might be getting an even further correction towards the green zone around 2.2, but I've also marked this level around 2.4 as a crucial support zone to test in the first place. So there are two levels that I'm personally watching if this correction wants to end relatively soon. Where are we in this period? Very likely we are somewhere in this structure or in any of these two structures before we're going to continue expanding the markets once again. So we're just having a very healthy corrective move, in which right now, as we can see on those structures too, you want to create a higher low, after which we can start continuing the upwards momentum. So if this is actually the bottom for the markets, we are quite satisfied. We have also seen a little bit of blood, and we're going to look for a potential higher low taking place here in order to have continuation on the markets. So coming back towards Bitcoin, towards the charts that I've been creating here, are we going to see this scenario? That is all critical on the fact whether 56k is going to find support. If 56k is going to find support, most likely we're going to test 60 and we're going to have continuation on the markets taking place. But if it does not, I think we're just going to see the exact same as past week, nuking through support, finding support around 50k, and then we should be done. I hope you have enjoyed this update. Later today at 5:30 Central European Time, I'm going live on this YouTube channel to answer your questions, to discuss news and to discuss the latest TA. Have a wonderful day and don't forget to subscribe beneath.